You want to keep baseball at its most interesting. That's what I think is the most important.
In season 1, you talk a lot about you want the technology out of the game, and I'm going to come at you from this angle. I want more.
God, I want to jump in, but I'll let you continue.
I want more technology in the game. And we need the right technology. Why isn't instant replay instant? Okay, why can't we give umpires the tools to make better calls, but they're still making the call? Jump in.
So you think they could? Is the technology there for that? Do you believe that it's ready for that?
Sure. Like, we can solve the problem of the bullpen being on the field. What's the problem? The problem is there's a bump there. Well, let's just use technology to remove the bump whenever there's a ball in play. Why can't we have an inflatable mound? Just
Oh, I see.
More technology, not less technology.
You're being facetious, but yet you want more technology. So I need
the right technology.
So
good technology.
What makes? Okay, let's start with this. Give me one. Give me one example. Let's begin.
You want a good example of good technology in the game?
What's something that
the machine that makes the balls the same?
Okay.
The thing that paints the lines in a straight direction.
Okay.
This is all good technology for baseball. Okay. The thing that makes the base tight and doesn't fall apart. Ooh. This is all great technology for baseball.
Okay.
Stirrups. I miss stirrups.
Technologically sound stirrups. Yes, I'm for.
Yeah, techno stirrups. That's where the coach signals what the pitch is going to be.
Okay, so what was the original question to me?
Technology in baseball. You want it gone. You want the humanity in baseball, but I think they can live together.
Yeah, okay.
I really do. For example, you're afraid of the robot ump, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be, there's always going to be the umpire, but he's going to have tools that help him make a better call because they get it wrong about 12% of the time. And a lot of people think that's too much. And I might be one of those people.
Okay. I got to jump in. This 12%, this is according to the box that they put.
You know, I have a lot to say about that box because it doesn't move when a bird lands on that camera in center field. It's just painted on the center. It doesn't change when the batter is small or tall or short. It's just...
Wow, is that true?
Well, whenever the wind blows and you see the camera move, the box stays in the same place.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
It's kind of just, it's painted on there. Well, at least it used to be. I don't know. They probably have the new technology.
Okay, so yeah, I want to know more about you and this box. So...
But we have to break it down. Like, what is the strike zone? You know, we really have to go there.
It's what the ump says it is.
Right. So give him the tools that help him see exactly where it was if he felt like he didn't see it. But that wouldn't,
how is that instantaneous? It can't be.
You do AR, you do augmented reality. So like
AR?
Yeah. So at every second, the ball, so you're wearing glasses.
Okay.
And then as the ball's coming in.
So you're like looking like the Terminator.
Yes. You have Terminator vision.
Terminator vision.
You're an augmented human. You have sight beyond sight. You can see the ball better than anyone, and you can rewind in your head just for a second to make sure that you're getting that call right, but you're still making the call as the umpire.
What if there's a glitch in the technology and a really important thing happens right when it, air quotes, runs out of batteries?
Well, what if there's a glitch when they're making the balls and one of the balls is defective?
There's
always problems with technology, but we can solve them.
Okay, so Terminator vision, you know about tech more than me. How soon are we? How far away is that? Terminator umpiring, 10 years?
So the system they're testing right now doesn't look anything like this. And that's a big problem. That's why I'm with you. I don't think that this technology is ready yet.
But when it is ready, you might be for it.
The way that it works now, there's a camera behind the plate and it signals to the umpire whether it's a ball or a strike. And it's...
Oh,
yeah.
Oh shit. Umpires are puppets now?
Yes. Well, they still get for calling balls and strikes. Yes. But
puppet umpires.
They have a big role to play. They still get to throw people out of the game. Role. They still get to call people safe at home plate.
Reduced role.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It is a very reduced role.
Okay. You would make the strike zone married to technology, but you would not make the other calls of the game?
No. I would give... That's what they're doing now, and I'm saying that's bad.
Okay.
I don't say make the strike zone married to technology. I'm saying give the umpire the tools to see the ball better.
But that can't be instantaneous with today's tech.
I think it can be so close to instantaneous that
that you're for it.
That it would work.
It would work.
Because it's only every once in a while that I think an ump is like, wow, I kind of didn't see that one. There was a break on that. It's better to just take a real quick half second for him to just kind of like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Or okay,
so
no.
I want to know why it's important to you that the call is, air quotes, right. Why is that important to you?
When you're a fan of a team and it's coming down to the final series and you get eliminated on a bad call, if that's ever happened to you as a sports fan, then you know why.
Okay. And now I'd like to counter that. Don't you feel like the season is long enough that the best teams come out of it in terms of how many games are played, who wins, that you have the illusion that you can take out the bad calls in the game? And there might be a point where it's so close to perfect that you can never make that argument. But by the time all the calls are perfect, nobody gives a fuck about baseball anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's boring. It's boring without the humanity. That's the only link to the sport.
Well, I want to keep the humanity in the game, but I just want to give, we're always inventing better tools for ourselves, like better mitts, better bats. I know there's limitations on those things, but
better white ash.
And look, some technology is stupid. Look, I don't like the thing that they're doing in college right now. Vanderbilt's doing this where the manager can signal to all the players what pitch. He's signaling to the pitcher, hey, throw this pitch in this location, but it goes to all the players. I don't like that. So it's not like I like all technology. I think technology can solve certain problems. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say in football, when you're kicking a field goal, there's a guy standing in the end zone and looking up going, yeah, okay, it's good. That's baseball. Baseball has that constantly. And it just
that's one of the best analogies I've ever heard.
In this time, we have the technology to know where a ball is at a certain time. Like we've kind of solved that problem. Not perfectly, actually. I've seen the robot umpire call really weird pitches.
Really?
It's not totally. There's
it's
still
not
glitches.
dialed in yet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still problems, right? But for the most part, we can figure out where a ball is at a certain time. And football figured out, well, if you just put a big pole there, it'll hit the pole or go to the other side of the pole, and people can see that.
We should make the pole
That's
taller.
technology, but that's tech. They should be able to erect this thing, the goalpost.
Yeah.
That's technology. And I think that the original, if you could talk to people playing baseball in the streets of America when it was first getting born, if they come up with a better way of calling balls and strikes besides just putting a guy back there, they would have done it.
Nope, I got it. I got the reason. This is important. This is important to keep the fluidity of the people involved in it going. If you lose the ability as a player to complain that you got screwed by the umps, you're not getting to express your full like baseballness. That is something it's very similar to how the fans need to have the opportunity to boo the umpire. That is a right that you're stripping the fans of when you go tech, because you must realize that the game is being played and there's players in the game and there's all different roles. The umpire have just the same importance of a role as the human players do, or the human managers. So you have to let them do their job, because that is what rounds out the play. And when you start altering the play, it's like, okay, let's take out one of the puzzle pieces, the one that's the least important of all between the players, the coaches, the fans, the umpires, and the venue. The venue is the least important. Let's say you take the venue out of baseball. It's already so fucking much less interesting immediately. So you cannot alter with the umpires or the players or the coaches. You can't strip anyone of their job because they all have to do their job to their highest potential. And the better they do at it, the better the other pieces are held up by their work. So it sounds like a cool thing to do, but you're really putting a Band-Aid on something that you think is bad for the game, but it's not. The mistakes hold the game accountable. Once it becomes automatic, so to speak, it won't appeal to people anymore because humanity is what makes baseball interesting, because it's slow, because it's all the things that it is. It's only popular as the national pastime because it is what it is. It's baseball. Trying to improve on it is a dead end, even though you might think that this is an obvious one. But with all that being said, as you've pointed out, rules have been changing. And they only do it to make the sport better. So, everything that I'm saying here has to be a prediction, but yet it feels so obvious to me. There's nothing else I don't feel like I could be swayed teams at this point because I'm so certain of how I see it working out that it's just like, take yourself back to the painting and you're the greatest artist in the world. And it's like, will you just make Mona Lisa just 10% hotter so that she can at least compete with the other paintings? Because this shit's getting pretty out of date. So just take your pencil or whatever it is and just make her 10% hotter. Like, what's the big deal? And you're the artist and you're sitting there and it's like, this is a big fucking decision.
I hear you.
I'm Manfred and I have the pencil in my hands and I need to make a decision that makes something perfect, even more perfect, or makes something of tremendous historical value better. He's the chosen one that gets to make the biggest decisions and the biggest rule changes in baseball history. He's the chosen one, Rob Manfred, right now. I have serious doubts about that because every single thing that I hear about Rob Manfred is that he's owner first, money first.
That's correct.
And without knowing him and knowing too much about him, I don't know that to be true, but I know a lot of people are saying that. And it makes perfect sense to me considering the decisions that are being made. So I want you to keep telling me and coming up with ways that the sport could get better, because I'm wondering, once this automatic thing, this terminator umpire, that's it. I love that analogy because it's right where I understand it best. Terminator umpire. Here we have you, the person that's invented it, the person that's for it. This is what he wants. Here's what I would say. 10 years later, after it's implemented, you will be less interested in baseball. That's the risk. I don't think it's possible that you can watch it and you go, yep, finally cleaned up that dirty sport. That 12% of wrong calls finally got cleaned up. And now we can finally get to really know who the best teams are. I think that was always obvious with the playoff structure, that the best teams rise up. And it is really shitty to get screwed on a bad call, but we have to take that risk in order to keep the pillars of the game. You can't take a pillar out of this game. You can't take the umpires out. And you're arguing that a terminator umpire is only making the umpire better, but you already have the best umpires in the game doing it. Just like you have the best coaches, just like you have the best players, and hopefully you have the most interested fans. Hopefully you're in a baseball town where you can ask your neighbor, like, hey, what happened while I'm gone? And it's like, you want to get the person that's like, oh, sick double play. You should have seen Crawford leap over the guy sliding. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll check that replay out later. Like, I'm fully down to have replays. You can have a replay on the board, but it can't change what the umpire saw. The umpire has to call the game because it's one of the pillars. And other things calling the game, no matter how correct it is, that's not going to get above the human level of yourself interacting with the game. Like you need the water cooler talk of, can you believe so-and-so got screwed? Like, it sounds stupid, but you need it because we are human. So you have to play a human game. That's what keeps it the most interesting. You're going to tell me, I know where you grew up. I know you saw a lot of big 49er games. You're going to tell me football is more interesting when they take 5-minute breaks to make the call. And then it's like, oh, it actually was this. Now you can cheer just as loud as you were going to.
It's like I said,
you're more interested?
Instant replay needs to be instant. You need to be able to make the call without the delay.
Okay.
I can't drive home that point enough.
But we're not there.
No, we're not there yet, but we can get there.
How long? How long is it going to be?
25 years, 10 years. I don't know. I'm going to get my company work. We're going to get started on that. We'll get coding right away.
My instinct says you will be less interested, even if it's instant, because you need to be on the side of the ump or not on the side, but you can't be connected to the umpire, him or her. You can't be connected to them in the same way if someone's telling them what the call was.
And I completely agree. And that's why I want them to make the call, but I want to give them all the tools that they need
available to them
to make sure that, if they blinked, they can maybe twist that and see it again. But I want to address a couple of things you said. Number one, I think that you were right in season 1 when you said that we need to respect our umpires.
Okay.
This is a really important point that I think is really lacking from the average fan.
Yes.
And that ties into what you're talking about, like booing the umpire and disrespecting the umpire it's kind of part of the game. And it
yeah, like
some people don't want to lose that, but I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this side.
So bad. Go ahead.
I'll be done quick. I'm gonna take this side of. There was umpires that were murdered in the 40s,
mm-hmm.
and I don't think we want to go back there. And I would much rather boo the Dodgers than boo the umpire. So much would like to save that energy to booing the opposing team. I think
I can't believe you're putting me on the other opposing side of murder and asking me to defend it. But hey, that's putting me up against the wall. I'll do my best.
Well, I told you that this was going to be an examination of season 1.
Yes. Challenging my belief system. Beautiful words. Okay. Here's my take on that. Sports is clearly a passionate endeavor. And so the people on the field, the people that are there watching, even the people that are outside of the stadium that can hear it, everyone is going to have an emotional attachment to it that, like, you can't really control your emotions. I didn't choose that I wanted to be a baseball fan, and now I am. It just happened to me. So there's going to be a lot of emotion involved. But one thing that we have to stop doing is saying that it has to be perfect and all the calls need to be right, because it is a game. And it's an easy argument to say players shouldn't make so much, because you can always go back to the fact they're playing baseball. They're playing a game. It's a game. This is something that people that aren't very big baseball fans understand very, very well. When you bring something to their attention involving money or involving, just like you said, umpire or referee getting killed, you know what the first thing a non-fan would say? Over a game? That's the first natural reaction. So you got to take your losses, whether you're a fan or whether you're a player or whether you're a coach. Getting screwed out of something that you feel like was rightfully yours hurts a hell of a lot. But you're playing a game, and you can't ever forget that. Even though there might be 100,000 people in the stands at the greatest stadium in the world and 100 million people watching, You take strike 3 looking, that's going to hurt. But you got to take it because that's life, and life's a part, or baseball's a part of life. And so you can't get away from the fact that it's a game, and people get killed for all kinds of reasons. People get killed for every reason imaginable. So while I resent you for putting me against that wall, I applaud you for allowing me to come up with such a beautiful response that's clearly right. I mean, my God.
Out of the park.
I guess I'm always going to challenge right back and say it won't be more interesting. And I have to apologize up front, but that's kind of, I couldn't imagine ever feeling differently. But I think what you're saying is it's pushing me to limits because you want to keep baseball at its most interesting. That's what I think is the most important. The most fair isn't as important to me as interesting. And interesting is the reason why fans get involved in the first place. So what's so cool about watching, something truly, truly fair, like play out? Like, isn't it more interesting when the scales are slightly tipped in one direction? No. And like, what if tell me it's not more interesting when the home team has a raucous crowd and they're way better.
But they earned that.
And the team that's less than comes out and beats them.
Sure, but your hometown crowd, you earn that. That's part of the game. I love that. What we're seeing now, one of the big problems with baseball is, the corruptibility of man. Right? And you look at Manfred and how he works for the owners. And when you think, a little kid, thinks about, the commissioner of baseball. Oh, he's the guy who's like making sure baseball's still awesome or whatever and are still happening. And, maybe he makes the hot dog recipe, whatever, but he just works for the owners right now. He's just like a mouthpiece.
I mean, that's what it feels like.
The corruption of man couldn't be more on display when you see how they negotiated with the players over the last 2 weeks. And when you talk about umpires, not making the wrong call because they just didn't see it right, that's one thing. And like, I'm okay with that. I agree with you. I want to give them a little tech to make sure when they're not quite sure, like I blinked, there was a flash bulb in my eye. I want to see that really quick one more time. I want to give them those tools, and I want it to be instant, but I don't like the idea of umpires being biased or being corruptible. And they are, all of them. And that really, I think that's a big problem. And I think kids don't get it. Kids don't get it. They're like, what, you mean an umpire is more likely to call a strike against this team rather than that team? That's not fair. That makes me not want that. I have other sports that I can go be interested in that seem more fair. Because honestly, no, for reals. When you find out these type of things about a sport, you go, oh, well, maybe this isn't worth me investing so much of my interest into because there's a dirtiness. It's gross. It's like the Catholic Church, right? I mean, this is fuck. Let's make an analogy.
Here we go.
But I mean, when, you hear about, let's say you're not in the Catholic Church, you're just somebody, and you hear about all these molestations, right? And how corrupt they are. It affects you. You're probably not going to become a Catholic. You're not going to convert because totally. You're like, well, wow. And it's the same thing with baseball and with kids growing up and hearing these stories about umpires being in the bag or like Pete Rose betting on baseball games that he was in.
Okay.
That's a big problem for the sport. And the sport is right to try to eliminate that if they can and preserve the humanity of the game.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing you say is if every call was 100% accurate, then the sport would be less corruptible. Like my first thought was, well, could you corrupt the guy that's operating the machine?
Of course.
But everybody would see that the machine told a different story. But I guess that's a good question. Like, let's look. Okay. Oh, I got one for you here. Let's say there's a person who has to oversee the box strike zone. All right. And let's say the box strike zone on your TV is actually the Bible of a ball and a strike.
You're right.
So if on your TV it didn't show up in the box, it was a ball. What if you watched the ball go through the box, but it didn't say that it did?
So
would you even trust your own eyes? Would you even say, "Oh shit, I think that was a strike"? You're like, "Huh?
Yeah.
Wasn't in the box."
I mean, you at this
Is
point,
the box guy corruptible?
you're just demanding like more and more sensor data from the ballpark, like to try to figure out where the ball was at a certain time from all three dimensions. Well, all four, really.
Could you imagine that happening though? I want to know if you think you're good enough of a baseball watcher now that you've had the box only for
I hate the box.
Whatever it is, 3 to 5 years.
By the way, I hate the box.
3 to 5 years.
And I hate how instant replay takes time. I want it to be instant.
Instant. I hear you, but if that happened and a pitcher was throwing strikes, but the box didn't light up in whatever way it does currently, would you trust your own eyes to say the machine is wrong?
When I go to games, I always buy seats in center field so I can watch the pitch. That's where I like to watch the game. And I've never had more fun in my entire life at a ball game in center field at Pac Bell Park when I saw Tim Lincecum pitch a no-hitter.
You know what?
I didn't think for 1 second when I was sitting out there in center field that I wanted that square. I didn't need that square to see he was throwing. Okay. I didn't need it. And that's how I want to watch baseball.
So that's why you hate the box, is you didn't feel like it was something that was necessary.
No, nobody needs the box.
Does it make it less of an enjoyable visual experience for you?
What the box does is it does exactly what you don't like, where someone sees it outside the box, the guy calls it a strike, and if it's not your team, it's not going your way, you're like, rah, it sucks, I hate this fucking shit.
Yeah. You
change a channel to like I Love Lucy or whatever. Or you change it to football or basketball or fucking soccer or lacrosse. I don't know. Like, how many choices do people have, to watch a sport these days? It's like you can watch. There's 10 times more choices.
Okay, I got one story, devil's advocate, from a friend of mine that was pro box. Okay, this man was.
I hate him already.
He was. Okay, and he said something to the tune of, and he seemed like a decent baseball fan. It was hard for me to tell, but he was somewhat mildly interested in the sport, but didn't really care a whole lot. And he said, but occasionally would watch it. And he said, "Oh, I like the box." And I said, "Please explain to me. Help me understand where you're coming from." And he goes, "I like seeing what the box is telling me, so that if later in the game there's animosity towards the ump, I'm kind of in on it. Like, I know what it is that they're upset about because I know what actually happened."
What actually happened.
Exactly. So he's in on it fan-wise from a different drama standpoint. And I never thought of it that way.
He appreciates the play.
Yeah, because he didn't really care who won. It was just like he
just likes the drama.
He was there to see the ball game. Yeah, he likes the drama. Nobody gives a fuck about baseball anymore. Because it's boring. Humanity is what makes baseball interesting because it's slow, because it's all the things that it is. It's only popular as the national pastime because it is what it is. It's baseball. Trying to improve on it is a dead end.